G'day and welcome to EscapeArtist. Today I'm in beautiful Kroombit Tops, which is becoming a more and more popular destination for adventure bike riders. So hang around and I'll show you exactly why. Kroombit Tops is one of my favourite places to come riding when I really want to get away from it, a long way away from anything and experience all different aspects of riding. It's one of the first places I came when I set up my bike for adventure camping, and it's just been a really special place for me ever since. I've been back 6 or 7 times to explore all of the different tracks that it has, and I just think that it's one of the best adventure biking playgrounds that central Queensland, maybe even Queensland, has to offer. So let's go and have a look at some of those tracks. There's 3 entries to the park. It's one from Calliope, one from Biloela and one from Monto. They're all roughly the same distance, give or take probably 15-20 k's. But they are varying degrees of difficulty to get up each one. Now the one I've just come up is the one from Calliope, and it's a really well formed gravel road, about 75 k's I suppose, maybe half of that is gravel. And for the beginner, the budding adventure biker, it's perfect. It's just a perfect track to test your skills out, get to know your bike. Really lovely road, and on top of that, this is the scenery that you're going through. You know, magnificent vistas like that. The Razorback track, this is fast becoming a bit of a bucket list item for adventure bike riders in the region. If you check any of the forums, a lot of people are just sort of discovering it and coming out this way to test themselves, because it's a really good track. That was amazing. That was amazing. That was 2 hours of split-second decisions and slight alterations of position on the bike. Highly recommend that. Highly recommend it. Anyway, as you can see, I'm nearly out of light, so I'll probably better set up camp. All right. The only car I saw on Razorback Track was an elder couple camped halfway out, like a lookout. And I went past them and I went all the way down, and then I came back. When I came back, I stopped to get some footage on the GoPro, and the lady mentioned that I wouldn't be having any beers until I got back here, and I mentioned that I forgot to buy beers. So they offered me a beer, and I'd only just been thinking about 5 minutes before that how tasty a beer would be after that ride. So here's the beer they gave me. I've been looking forward to it. I'd let it settle for 10 minutes because it was all shook up. Yep. Fantastic. Cheers to that couple. Thank you very much. Sensational. Food review, 10 out of 10. Good morning. I was reflecting yesterday on the day and all of the things that I did, and at the end of the day I'd realised just how full a day it was, and how it was full of things that I wanted to do. And I guess that's probably the essence of why I do this by myself. It's because I get to do whatever I want all of the time, which may seem like a really self-indulgent kind of motto to go with, but when you're at home, there's just so many things to do, for not just for you, but the running of the house, business, family. So coming away to places like this allows you to do that, whatever you want, all of the time. And yesterday, that's what my day was. It was full of that. And I don't think you can ask any more than that. I think it's actually impossible to ask more than that. So it's a nice realisation, I suppose. Anyway, I'm going to try and do the same today. And what I want right now is coffee. For those of you that are wondering, yes, I do travel on a motorcycle, and no, I don't bring a massive table with me. It just happened to be there when I got here, so someone's left their rubbish behind, which obviously isn't great, but at least it was handy. So I'm kind of conflicted over whether that's good or bad, but anyway, it was useful. There's 3 campsites up at Kroombit Tops. Griffith Creek would be the most popular one. It's a nice big open green space, plenty of room for everybody up there, and it's really quite lush and lovely. The other one is the Wall, and that's a campground that's perched right beside a rock wall, oddly enough. That's also quite nice. And then there's the third one, Razorback Campground, which is where I'm at right here. And I choose that one because it has the most extreme name in Razorback. Not really. It's because there's no one here. All the others will have people in them. Griffith Creek certainly already does. I checked it yesterday. There's no one here. 0 people. And that suits me down to the ground. It's not the nicest campground, but the fact that there's no one here certainly appeals to me more than any other aspect of the campgrounds that are available. Here is the road to the bomber crash site and the wall campground, and it becomes a one-way track, about maybe a K or two in there, and from there there's some pretty good riding. It's a four-wheel drive only track. The first part of it is no problem, and then towards the end it gets pretty steep and rutted out. So there's some sections through there where you can really get some pace up, but there's a lot of blind corners, and although it is a one-way track and it's signposted pretty regularly that it's a one-way track, I've been on here twice, come around a corner to face a four-wheel drive coming the other way. So just bear that in mind. As much as it says one-way track, don't be like, sweet, I'm going as fast as I want. It's a bad idea. Plus on top of that, there's some very well-fed horses here. There's some massive piles of horse shit on the road, and I had a couple of horses run through the campground last night when I was setting up, and then this morning there was a bull with some rather large horns about 30 metres away from me when I got out of the tent. So there's some very big animals here that can step out in front of you, and there's also some four-wheel drives that are going to be going the wrong way, so keep that in mind. This is the road to the bomber crash site, 2.3 k's away. I'm not going to go down there. I've been there a few times, and I don't want to spoil it for any of you who haven't been there before. It's certainly worth going to have a look. It is effectively a graveyard. Plane crashed 1944, I think. Took off from Darwin, never made it during the war, and never made it to Brisbane. And park ranger discovered it 50 years later when he was doing burn-offs, and since then they've done a whole heap of work to figure out what happened and how and why. So yeah, it's worth a look, and it's a pretty gnarly road. because of its elevation and proximity to the ocean, which is just over there, about 60 k's, Kroombit Tops has its own little microclimate. It draws in the hot, moist air off the ocean, forces it up that 1,000 meters, and creates its own rain. So it's got its own little microclimate, I suppose you'd like to call it, where the trees up here are a lot more lush than they are down on the flat, and you've got things like tree ferns and bracken fern growing up here because of the extra moisture. It also has its own frog that's endemic to this area. It's called the tinker frog, and the only place it lives on the planet is right here in Kroombit Tops because of that little microclimate and ecosystem that it's created for itself. Really very cool. So I'm down the bottom of Kroombit Tops. I'm out of the national park now, and it brings you to this junction here. Monto that way, Kroombit back the way we came. That way there takes you to a little town called Yubobo. I went down that road, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, and it was the roughest road I've ever been down. It could only be less of a road if it wasn't actually a road. I boiled the brake fluid in the front caliper and had to sort of bleed that a little bit to get myself home. So I'm reluctant to go that way again, even though, you know, I'm going to Monto anyway. But just for those of you who might be interested in going that way, maybe it's changed, maybe it hasn't. Take your chances. The road down from Kroombit to Monto is an absolute cracker. It's a fairly gentle kind of dirt road, and it just meanders in and out through the valleys. It's just beautiful, just through some of the most typically Australian landscape you'll ever find. Such a good way to finish this ride, it really is. So there was plenty to do up there. I hope I've sort of shown you that Kroombit really is the adventure biking playground that, you know, people are making it out to be. It's just fantastic. There's just so much there for riders of every ability. You know, if you're a beginner, you can come up from Calliope. It's a really gentle road, good way to sort of cut your teeth a little bit on that sort of riding. And if you want to be a bit adventurous, you come down the road I've just come down from Kroombit through to Monto. If you took your time, you wouldn't have too much trouble with that. If I were to grade those roads out of 5 like they do with hiking trails, the one up from Calliope would be a 1 out of 5, and the one that I've just done that comes down from Kroombit Lookout to this road here through to Monto, that's probably a 2. The four-wheel drive track to the Bomber crash site, most of that would be a 3, pushing towards 4. There were some pretty tricky sections there that required just as much, if not more, skill than I needed on Razorback track. So that's a 3, pushing 4 out of 5, and the Razorback track, well, that's easily 4, and maybe a little bit higher, just purely because of the endurance required and the skill required, and it's just constant slog, but very rewarding. So yeah, at least a 4 out of 5. So in my opinion, I would say that Kroombit Tops is the best adventure bike playground that I've certainly experienced or heard of. I'm more than happy to be proved wrong. Please leave some comments below. If you think you've got a better one, let me know, let the whole world know. It doesn't matter where you are on the planet, let everybody know. We all like to have a playground to go to. So have your say down there. Hit like, share, and if you haven't already, subscribe so that you can catch some more of this on EscapeArtist. Bye for now.